Hello and welcome to a video update here on the tropics right now. Here it's July 11th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This video will be coming out probably around 8 p.m. tonight. So right now we're just jump right into it. We are paying attention right now to an area of interest that is off of the coast of Florida here. Earlier today we saw a lot of convection starting to blow up and heading into the east coast of Florida here. But the question is, obviously, does it have a possibility for formation? Most likely not. It's not in the best favorable environment. But I just want to take a look at some of these satellites really quickly here as we're taking a look at, Florida, obviously, because we're seeing a majority of the moisture actually push in to the east coast of Florida here and blowing up some possible thunderstorms that are continuing on to go throughout Florida. So I want to keep an eye out on that as very, very closely here. As you can see with the upper level, let's head into the mid-level here. Lots of moisture is still over Florida. The dry air is still off to its northeast. This tropical wave, or a broad area of low pressure, and then we have a little bit of a long wave. We can see this very, very big system that we're paying attention to right there. The question is where is this storm going to probably head to? Well, where the storm will most likely probably head to will most likely just be heading over here into the Carolinas. So this is what some of the models have already been saying, and we'll look at the models in a little bit here, but a majority of the models saying this low pressure will be pushing up over here into the Carolinas, going through parts of eastern South Carolina and going into northern Carolina, and we're going to keep an eye out on some of this, especially the rainfall that continues to move off to the north into the Carolinas. All right, and then, taking a look here at the rainfall, we're stretching all the way over here from New Hampshire all the way to South Carolina. So a very, very big stretch here of some possible flash flooding to continue happening. This does include New York here in the slight risk, Washington, D.C. We have parts of North Carolina, Virginia Beach, the Outer Banks are going to be involved in this. So heavy rainfall could definitely be the biggest factor from this broad low pressure system that is continuing to push off to the north. Otherwise, even from development, we're going to still see lots of rainfall. So possibly up to 2 inches in rainfall up in certain parts here of the Northeast. And, especially for parts of New York and over here in the Northeast has already seen the aftermath of Beryl. So definitely want to see maybe not as much rain, but we'll have to continue to watch that as Beryl, continue to push off to the Northeast, but dropping heavy amounts of rain here in New York and the Northeast. So we don't really want to necessarily see that a little bit more here, but we're most likely going to be seeing it go into the Carolinas later on this weekend. So I want to keep an eye out on that very closely. So taking a look here at the National Hurricane Center and what we're paying attention to, there is that area of development right there. You can clearly see it is it's a couple hundred miles off of the east coast of Florida here. So as this is off the east coast of Florida, we're going to continue to see some of that moisture probably push right into the east coast of Florida, heading into parts of Georgia and South Carolina probably later on tomorrow, going into the weekend. And then as we go on to a little bit farther into the weekend, this storm is expected to potentially just push north into the Carolinas here and go through Virginia and dumping that heavy amounts of rainfall over here in this region right here, expecting possibly up to 2 inches in rain or even more. So this is a very, very broad low pressure system, and the National Hurricane Center is really not anticipating this storm to form in the next couple of days or anything like that, especially here when it comes to the model. So we take a look here at the models right now. So the models, we're going to continue. So if we circle this area right over here, take a look at this area right here with the models, do we see anything form over here in 102 hours? Not expecting anything really out in the Atlantic. It's going to be very quiet. But up into 15 days, it does seem like we have only a couple models hinting at a tropical depression or tropical storm forming, but it's most likely not going to happen. So if there's not more than 3 models picking up on it, it's most likely not going to happen. But no matter what, the rainfall will be the biggest concern going into the south here, into parts of northern Carolina and South Carolina. We'll have a video update on that. I'll have a video update on that a little bit later on tomorrow on the rainfall, as that will start to approach parts of the Carolinas, as we've already seen some scattered thunderstorms around Florida, but obviously haven't seen too much around Florida where it's gotten too concerning or anything like that. So Let's keep an eye out on this really quick. Let's take a look at the GFS model here. You can clearly see the GFS model probably bringing this storm up. So if we keep an eye out on this area right here, this is the system and is expected to push off over here to the northeast, and you can clearly see that on this. Even though we're not seeing a low pressure system forming according to the GFS, it's going to push up into northern Carolina, to North Carolina here, and you can see majority of that rainfall continues to push off here as this storm continues to move off. Take a look here a little bit more at the outlook here. So there it is. So you can clearly see maybe 1,015 millibar tropical system here. So that's obviously no tropical storm or depression, but continue to watch this area right here for the heaviest rainfall, and you can clearly see this is for July 12th. So this is tomorrow at 2 p.m. We're going to start to see possibly some of that rain according to the GFS, and it's going to continue throughout the northeast all the way until possibly early Saturday morning and possibly into Sunday morning. So want to keep an eye out on that. The European model saying around the same thing, but the European model saying a little bit more of a interesting situation here of 1,013 millibars. So the Euro is still saying it's not obviously completely organized, but still saying a potential a little bit more of a stronger system could be pushing off to the northeast according to the GFS, or according to the Euro. The GFS is saying something completely different, so a little bit more of a disagreement there. But then the GFS and the Euro start to pick up on a little bit more on that pressure being over 1,015 millibars, so that's most likely nothing that is going to form. Then it continues to push off to the northeast, but the European model kind of takes the storm a little bit more of the moisture off of the east coast here, as the GFS takes it more inland here with the moisture. So a little bit of a difference going to be continuing on, so we got a lot to be paying attention to throughout the next couple of days. We're going to keep an eye out on that very closely here. If we head in over here to the GFS and possibly head right over here into the northeast, let's start off with the southeast here. We take a look here at the precipitation. What are we expecting for the precipitations? Well, we're taking a look at this for the next 24 hours from now. We can clearly see this is where that storm is going to be. So parts of the blue, that is possibly reaching up into 0.5 to almost 2 inches of rain, possibly in parts of eastern North Carolina, all the way up into we have Delaware and we have Virginia going to be in this system very quickly here, and it continues to just grow and grow. 54 60 hours out for July 14th, still seeing that rain still continuing on over here in parts of the eastern North Carolina and Virginia. So it's really the same areas that are going to be continuing to see this for the next couple of days. This could be a little bit of an interesting situation for the flash flooding. Then we head into the European model saying a little bit of a different type of system here. You can see the European takes it a little bit more off of land, obviously off the east coast of Florida here, but look at that, more rainfall, possibly up to 8 inches of rain according to the European model. So going to keep an eye on that. But as I just said, according to the GFS, this is the area for the GFS, and then we look at the Euro model, a very, very big difference off of the east coast here. So the European model will be obviously the best outlook for this one, because it will stay off land and we will not be seeing as much flooding potential. Obviously we'll still see some potential for flooding in parts of the Outer Banks according to the European model, but we have a lot to be paying attention to anyways. So taking a look at this, the satellite picture really quickly, there it is. There's that, a very broad low pressure system going to continue to push off to the north here. It kind of, if you take a look at the satellite, it kind of just looks like it's just sitting there doing nothing. It's just sitting there paying attention to itself, focusing on itself, but eventually it will push off to the north here, and there's a big high pressure off to its west, so obviously can't go anywhere else, or off to its east, I'm sorry, and then it really just can't go anywhere else. Then we take a look here at the let's take a look at this. We're going to continue to pay attention to this because we haven't seen much. Our next storm could be is ready to be our D-named storm here, and we still have plenty of storms left to go. We've had only 3 systems, and we have 26, so we have 23 systems left to go for the rest of this hurricane season. Right now, it does seem like this is the area where I'm going to talk about. We have a slow start, obviously, to the season. We see in the past years, we've seen storms form in, mid-May, and just really in May and then early June, but now we really haven't seen that at all. We're expecting that uptick to most likely happen starting possibly, the beginning of August, and really ramp up and continue to ramp up here into around September. But look at this difference. You take a look at the difference over here. You take a look at the difference between all the way over here from May 1st all the way to August 1st on how quiet it seems to be. Then you take a look at this. This is the much bigger area. So that means after the peak of the hurricane season being in middle of September here, we're going to continue to see a little bit more of a slower downhill than a bigger uphill. So a little bit more of a different situation is definitely expected. So a little bit more of a later hurricane season could be definitely anticipated, which is not good news for a lot of people. Taking a look back at that system though that we were just talking about, we can clearly see the shear in this area is decreasing. So at least that is somewhat of a favorable environment for it, but there's so much Saharan dust still that is going to be trying to choke it off, and it actually is off to the east. The Saharan dust is off to its east trying to choke it off, so we're going to keep an eye out on that. But this is expected to continue to move off to the north and into the Carolinas, possibly more northeast here. But most likely I would say the development not expected to happen due to increasing shear as well, and it does seem like we could be having a possible front come down here, and that's going to make it go off to the east. So I want to talk about that really quickly actually, because it does seem like we do have a front that we're going to be paying attention to, and that's what a lot of people pay attention to, is the front. We want to keep an eye on what that front's doing, and what, because that does change how it currently moves. If it moves off to the northeast, if it just goes due north, well, no matter what, it does seem like we're going to see a front coming down. We're already starting to see it. The question is, the GFS is saying it's going to head into the North Carolina and push off over here more inland. The European saying the front will be a little bit quicker and keeps it more off land. So the European model will be obviously the biggest, the biggest solution here that we would more prefer than the other solution, because of the rainfall. We don't want too much heavy rainfall continuing, obviously, to be our biggest issue. So, just keep an eye out on it for the next couple of days here. As we go on throughout the next couple of days, we're going to keep an eye out on some of this right now as that front will start to come down. The question is does it get, does the GFS make it correct and makes the storm go off to the north into North Carolina, but takes it more of an inland tract? Or could we see a little bit more of a difference with the European model bringing it off coast, just hugging the east coast of the United States? So a little bit to be paying attention to, but thank you so much for watching here, and cannot wait to do another live stream or a video. So make sure you have a great day, and thank you for watching this latest update.